This is the 50th episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for helping us reach this milestone. Krystal Cameron and Desmond Richards make their big contributions this episode too. But first, the commentary, frankly speaking. Last week, Thursday, the world's largest cruise ship pulled into Falmouth Port, Trelawney. Of course, that underlined the continuing resurgence of Jamaica's tourism industry. But of even greater significance to me was the fact that the executive chef, yes, the executive chef was a Jamaican, Omar, a native of Norwich, Portland. He has been working with Royal Caribbean for nearly 20 years. He joined the company, the second biggest cruise line in the world, in a low level job, but has risen to the position of executive chef, now stationed on the biggest cruise ship in the world, the Wonder of the Seas. Frankly speaking, it's no small thing to be an executive chef on an 18-deck cruise ship with a capacity of 6,988 guests and 2,300 crew members. That's more than 9,000 people on a sailing hotel. The Portlander, Omar says, working with Royal Caribbean and having the opportunity to display his culinary skills has been quite an experience and one that has helped him greatly in supporting his family back home. He told his schoolmate, journalist Darwin Davis, that he hopes to return to his country one day to retire. We can be the finest. Frankly speaking, we deserve to be the finest people. But that's not what our garbage collection and state of uncleanliness says about us. There's been a lot of song and dance about 50 new garbage trucks put into the system across the island last week. You know, we need a little more self-respect. The trucks are 2 years late, but that's not the problem. This is a country that is very dirty. To me, the dirtiest it has been for years, and it need not be so. Frankly speaking, the 50 garbage trucks won't make Jamaica clean. They should help at least a bit. But it's our approach, yes, the attitude of we, the people, to cleanliness, waste management and disposal that needs a radical overhaul. Garbage disposal and collection and a lack of cleanliness in public spaces are part of those areas of our life that we have been seeing deteriorate before our very eyes over these last few decades, frankly speaking. It's a far cry from what it was when in 1983, former UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher commented on how clean this country appeared to her. We don't have to go much further back than that to remember that in the 60s and early 70s, King Street, its sidewalks and its piazzas, as well as much of downtown Kingston's Market District, those areas were clean and void of rubbish. We know too that in living memory, main streets of major parish capitals were washed regularly, at least once a week, by the fire brigade. Garbage was collected like clockwork in the capital city, and people sorted their waste in the rural parts and had mulch pits or compost heaps to manage their waste. Children in school cleaned their classrooms, and the work, even for the primary school ones, was made lighter while they sang bits of paper, lying on the ground, in the place untidy, pick them up. The vendors at the school gate had their own garbage containers. Cleanliness, frankly speaking, was institutionalized. We need not long for the good old days. We can fix these bad times and attitudes a self-respecting nation would. We must accept that we, the people, have nasty habits, and those have become entrenched. A whole generation is growing up believing that nastiness and garbage on the streets are acceptable things. It is this view of ourselves, a kind of acceptance of descent into sliminess, that results in all kinds of people dropping food and drink packages at their feet or through the windows of vehicles, or making illegal dumps anywhere but in their yards. It is this that results in the unsightly string of mainly plastic waste along major and minor roadways across this country. You see it all over. After any road bushing, such as is taking place now, you see that every venue for any public event becomes an instant dump. Frankly speaking, we are not even ashamed of it. Behavior and attitudes can change. The history of nations show Rwanda is now clean and not only unified after a genocide of nearly 1 million people. We can turn it around, but with leadership. As Dennis Chung, the chairman of the NSWMA, has been saying, the fines for violation of the Solid Waste Management Act have been too low, and the necessary legislation has been tied up for 10 years, during which time the country has become uglier, garbage pockmarking its face. Then, too, some incentives must be put into people returning their plastic bottles, and for others to make a business to make money from collecting those plastic bottles disposed in the wrong place. We did have bottle police when it made sense to collect glass bottles. The bottle deposit scheme has just been taking too long, and the manufacturers and merchants must be told so and pushed into helping, in effect, not dirty up Jamaica. Yet there is a superstructure of changes that are required from the governors. The architecture of garbage collection must change, and that I will return to it. Now, here is Desmond Richards.
The debate has been raging over whether the state of emergency declared by the government to fight crime and violence is working. A fundamental question that it has triggered is the state of emergency an effective tool in fighting crime? Since independence, the Jamaican governments have declared 8 states of emergencies. The longest state of emergency, declared in 1976, lasted for 1 year. Crime and violence has been advanced as the principal reasons for states of emergencies. Are they working? In 1976, there were reports that there were attempts to overthrow the government. The opposition at the time disputed this argument and argued that it was used as a political tool to keep them out of power. But have these states of emergencies declared to fight crime and violence, are they working? In 2010, when a state of emergency was declared after the attempts to capture Dudus, and we had 1446 murders. 2 states of emergencies were declared in 2018. We had 1289 murders. Now, what is clear is that the states of emergencies, the reasons advanced for state of emergencies are not working. The crime and violence remain the number one problem in the country. Therefore, what it says is that there are other reasons, there are other factors that need to be deployed in order to bring the violence under control. Of course, stiffer laws, but we have to be careful. We can't legislate laws which are opposed to the Constitution. The Constitution is the highest law in the country, and therefore the laws that we are going to legislate must be laws which are in accordance with the Constitution. And so we have to be careful. The legislators have to be careful. The situation is out of control. The violence is totally out of control, and therefore I know that they are desperate to find answers. But we must prepare to fight the crime, but at the same time we must not trample on the rights of citizens. States of emergencies, I don't think, and they have not proven to be sustainable crime fighting.
And here is Krystal Cameron.
It doesn't have to be physical. But if you move my hair without permission, to me, that's abuse. When you verbally attack, because that to me is what it is, you do not recognize me as British, and until I acknowledge that I am not, you are not going to stop. What do? If you ask me a question and I give you the answer, then that's that. Move on to the next question. But if I give you the answer several times and you won't accept it, then let's recognize that there's a problem here.
This poor little dear is Ngozi Fulani. She founded a multi-award-winning charity named Sistah Space, supporting African and Caribbean heritage women affected by domestic and sexual abuse. And on Tuesday, as the chief executive and co-founder of Sistah Space, this same charity that supports domestic abuse victims of African and Caribbean heritage, she attended a reception at Buckingham Palace. And this is the outfit that she wore to this event.
Today I'm off to Buckingham Palace. I received an invitation via Safe Lives. Their patron is the Queen Consort.
And here's a synopsis of the conversation she posted on her own Instagram. Lady Susan, where are you from? Me. Sistah Space. Lady Susan, no, where do you come from? Me. We're based in Hackney. No. What part of Africa are you from? I don't know. They didn't leave any records. Well, you must know where you're from. I spent time in France. Where are you from? Here, UK. No, but what nationality are you? I am born here and I am British. No, but where do you really come from? Where do your people come from? My people? Lady, what is this? Oh, I can see I'm going to have a challenge getting you to say where you're from. When did you first come here? Lady, I am a British national. My parents came here in the 50s when... Oh, I knew we'd get there in the end. You're Caribbean. No, lady. I am of African heritage, Caribbean descent, and British nationality.
Has anyone touched your hair without your permission? Has anyone shown interest in your heritage?
Has anyone tried to engage you in a conversation lately? You should call Sistah Space. They are dying to help you get through that trauma. You're dying at this point to know exactly where this woman is from, because if she came here to Jamaica dressed like that and sounding like that, I'm telling you she would experience a whole leap of racism and a whole leap of trauma if she led with this same approach. What I see here is a conversation. It's a back and forth. If someone demands of me that I never question them, they're not asking to be treated equally. They're asking to be treated deferentially. If I met this woman, it would have gone down exactly the same way. From the very first moment I saw this story, the only thing that I was interested to know about this woman was where the hell her people came from, and that's that. Call me racist, but it is what it is, because I can tell from looking at her that her people are not from the British Isles. Why? Because she's not white. It really isn't rocket science. I have no interest in beating about the bush. The hairstyle and hair texture, the features, is enough to let me know that that dark skin ain't no tan. So where are your people from? That's all I want to know about you, because that is not a traditional British costume you're wearing, is it? Your name, Ngozi Fulani, not a traditional British name, is it? So where are your your people from? Perhaps that's why you were studying for a master's degree in African Studies at the London School of Oriental and African Studies. You hypocrite. You know your people aren't from the British Isles. Quote, "We had to learn about our culture from middle-class white people," she wrote. "It did not feel authentic, and at times I found it traumatic." Why was it traumatic for you? And who exactly is this our? And why exactly are middle-class white people not part of this our that you refer to? Could it be because you know that your people are not from the British Isles? You hypocrite. Her parents moved to Britain from Barbados. She's Bayesian. It's that simple. Multiculturalism and diversity are just a gateway to ruin and conflict. It requires us to reject what we can see with our own
Krystal
eyes.
Cameron and CEO of Krystal Cameron Designs. Endgame. Okay, so Belgium, my team to win, has gone home. They played to go home. Remember, my original pick, number 2, was always France, and then Brazil. Thank you all for joining again for another episode of Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. You have helped take us to the landmark of 50 episodes. Continue to share and like, and if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Until then, I'm Franklin.